I've got a place that these where I use it. Cover my dues and insurance. I just had
What do you use?
$1,200 a year. It's a present. It's a.
And then I got to buy my own all inclusive.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've got nothing planned, nor can I, because it's ski season. But
I got 4 more years left on my contract. But I traded.
okay.
I'll do creative things.
At Pacifica? Did you say at?
Yeah.
No. Pacifica?
No, I'm not at Pacifica.
Okay.
I'm at Sunset Bridge.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's all right. I
It's
just,
next door.
yeah, I know where you're at.
Where you're at?
What we do is we go over
There.
we have rights. So you just walk.
You stop that.
Not yet. You're supposed to be here. Why is this thing?
So.
It's up there.
Oh. Oh, geez. Yeah, did that.
Why isn't this
Not
going?
even 24 hours.
There we go. Bastard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We do stay at Pacifica too. I have the right. Get into it's an upcharge.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I can transfer my lead.
I was just curious if that, yeah, I couldn't remember what you
It's
said.
it's not. It's a. But those are hotel rooms. Which is fun.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was confusing. We own it, Rose.
Rose and then.
I have Rose.
Pacifica.
I believe Rose.
Yeah, so Rose lets kids. That's why I don't like over there. I'd rather stay at Pacifica. No kids.
Yeah, it's adult.
Uh-huh.
So Sunset Beach, but there's a kids pool.
Yeah. But then you can go between all of them when you're.
It's we call it president. It's not presidential. It's executive.
6:30, Mayor.
Okay.
Well,
Ready to start the recording?
at all? That's
All right. Good evening. I'd like to welcome you and call to order the Port Orchard City Council's meeting for November 25th. Turn the recording off. All right. Hold on here a moment. Good. All right. We're welcoming you and call to order the Port Orchard City Council regular meeting for November 25th. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the actions we're about to take this evening, I would like to remind us of our guiding principles. Are we raising the bar? Are we honoring the past but not living in the past? Are we building connections with our outside partners? And in this decision-making process, building a positive is positively impacting diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I did that backwards. That's okay. All right. We have a published agenda. Are there any proposed changes to tonight's agenda? Your motion?
Mayor, I'd move to accept the agenda as published.
Second.
Got a motion to approve the agenda as published by Councilmember Rose Pepe, a second by Councilmember Fenton. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? None. The agenda has been set for this evening. We are to our citizen comment period. Anyone wishing to address the council, please step to the microphone and state your name for the record if you could. And you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Patonzu. My name is Tim Winter. I'm here speaking as the superintendent of the South Kitsap School District. And I'm here really because I just want to express my support for the Port Orchard Police Department. We had an incident at our high school last week that is carried over into this week. Initially, there were some concerns about how that situation was handled. But after further review and a lot of conversations with Chief Brown, I think that my learning piece of that was to slow down and reflect before we put communication out, because the response by the officers was prompt and efficient, and in looking at what actually happened, that was appropriate as well. And so the partnership that we have with the department is really strong, and there's a lot of communication and a lot of support. And so I'm just here tonight to share that from a district perspective, how much support we appreciate and how we want to reciprocate that partnership with the police department, and appreciate all members of the department and what they do for us. So thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we have anyone else wishing to address the council? Please step to the microphone and identify yourself for the record if you could.
Good evening. My name is John Wilson. I live in the Pottery Heights section of Port Orchard. And I'm here because I'm the property owner of a duplex. And the issue is with the water. The water, I received the water bill for the property. And I live in one side of the duplex, and the other side is currently vacant. It's been vacant since July. And the issue is with the water bill. And I share a meter with the property, with the other property. I'm the owner, but I'm still getting billed as though somebody's in that property. And the property's been empty since July. And I'm getting billed at the rate. Now, I called billing and they told me they billed at a flat rate. My issue is, if that's the case, why is the meter needs to be read if it's billed at a flat rate? So I wrote a letter to you guys, to the city council. I don't know if the girl from billing got this letter and gave it to you guys. It's stating the charges for that property. It's been empty since July and it's currently empty. And the reason being empty is because I'm remodeling the place and nobody's in it, but I'm still getting billed. And it probably won't be occupied until about spring, mid to late spring. But I'm still getting billed for that as though somebody's living there in that property. And the property is 1984 Longview Avenue. It's in Port Orchard, here in Port Orchard. And that's why I'm here tonight, to address that situation on that property. It's being built. And to me, if nobody's there, and I can't shut the water off because I share a meter. I share the same meter. So the water gets cut off, I don't have any water. I live right next door. So that's the problem. And this is not the first time this has happened. When they built the house, they didn't put in separate meters, just had one meter. And when they come out and read the meter, it gets billed. I pay the water bill for both properties, but there's nobody in the property. It's been vacant since the 4th of July. Yeah, the 4th of July has been vacant, so I wish something can be done about it. So anyway, that's why I'm here, to address that issue of that. Like I say, it's not going to be probably occupied until July. I'm sorry.
Excuse me, sir, but your time's up.
Sorry.
Did you put your name and contact information on the sign-up sheet? There was a sign-up sheet there, if you could get that.
Oh, right here. Oh,
And I'll
okay.
make sure that the finance department gets a hold of you and explains why your water bill is the way that it is.
Okay. All right, thank you.
The letter was emailed. It's in your email.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was last week.
Yeah. A letter from him. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your comments, Ben. Make sure you leave your contact information and we'll be reaching out. to you.
Okay. I don't know, did you guys receive?
Yes, we got it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I want to see the bill.
All right, Janine, is there anyone online wishing to address the council? Use the raise your hand feature. Sergeant Main, are you here to provide some comment? All right, just thought I'd offer. Okay, no one else is wishing to address the council. I'm going to close the first citizen comment period. We have a published consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Mayor, move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Rosa Pepe, a second by Councilmember Trenary to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved unanimously. We don't have any presentations. We don't have a public hearing. We have 3 business items tonight. The first of which is item A, adoption of an ordinance accepting a donation of real property tax parcel number 5392000-001-0004 from Port Orchard Industrial Park LLC. Mr. Ryan, you could probably give it an abbreviated staff report. I know this came before us the last council meeting. It took a super majority to approve, and we had 2 absences. And so we were not able to, so that's why it's back before you again.
Mr. Mayor. Apologies.
Yes, ma'am.
Just to confirm, it doesn't take a super majority, but it takes a majority of the council as opposed to the majority of those present. And so it-
Majority of the council.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. We were lacking sufficient votes at that moment in time. So because of 2 absences. Mr. Ryan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council. So briefly, I will just summarize that recently the city purchased the new utility operations building previously owned by RV and Associates. Following the purchase, the city was approached about acquiring the adjacent tax parcel. Originally, that was a possible sell. The owner offered to donate this parcel to the city. The assessed value that the city jointly received from the owner was $185,000. There are no conditions attached to the donation. The city staff recommends the Public Works utilize the parcel for additional storage. This is a resolution in front of you tonight. So,
Actually, that was a commercial appraisal for 100.
sorry, yes, a commercial appraisal.
Is there a motion this evening?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance accepting the donation of real property from Port Orchard Industrial Park LLC.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Morrissey, a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe to accept the donation of the property from Port Orchard Industrial Park LLC. Any questions for Mr. Ryan? Go ahead, Councilmember.
Last time we heard a discussion that possibly the city didn't have enough money for any repairs that would be needed on this property. I would like to have the finance director address that along with you, Mr. Ryan, at the same time, because there was concerns about that.
So I will start out and I will give you an update. Today we started the planning process of an open house that we will be having here in January of this facility. The remainder of the cell, there was some funds that we are using to make the improvements needed to occupy the space. We're doing really well with the remaining budget, and there is there's approximately, I believe, 70,000 dedicated in 2026 to finalize our site improvements needed.
Mr. Ryan, that wasn't the
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
I think the concern is related to the storm pond. Are there any improvements that need to be made at the storm pond at this time? And if they are, what fund do we have funding to make those improvements? I believe that was the question.
That is a question.
I can't tell you what the condition of that private storm pond is at this time. I don't know of any major faults with it. We did do an intensive video inspection of the in-ground storm system. So,
Right.
Mr. Ryan, we had Antonio go out and look at that pond when we were considering buying it though.
okay.
And there were no concerns raised at that time.
There's no concerns about the structure of the pond.
And that for NOAA, we do have funds available, or we'd be able to make funds available if we found some work that needed to be done there, correct?
Well, that depends.
You know,
Is it so as Mr. Ryan said, when we did our evaluation, we found, I believe that there were no capital improvements needed, no maintenance, not maintenance, but capital improvements needed to the structure. So we didn't look at any need to fund anything. It's hard to say that we would be able to have funding depending on the type of request. If it's a $10 million request, we'd have to really think hard about what it is we're doing.
that was not the number that was thrown out.
Yeah.
Pardon? That was not the number that was said at the last. I just want to make sure that we have some electricity in our budget, should we need funds if something came.
Mr. Roper, I don't believe it would require any type of a budget amendment. We have maintenance staff in the stormwater utility, and it's part of their daily operations activities to operate the excavator, the mower, and things of that nature, that if that was the highest priority versus other ponds, we have ponds throughout the city in their work plan.
Mhm.
And if that was identified as a high priority, I'm certain, Mr. Ryan, wouldn't you say that they could get a piece of machinery out and perform necessary maintenance on that pond?
We have all the equipment and staffing expertise to perform the maintenance on this pond.
Thank you. That answers my question, and thank you. I fully support this.
Other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor.
Yeah, I think I just heard enough from the conversation that was just had. We're accepting a facility that we don't know the condition of. I went out there today and looked at it. I'm not in favor of accepting land, whether it's free or not. If the little bit of storage that it might have for a laydown yard far exceeds the asset maintenance. What I said last week, I'm going to hold to it this week. Until I see other work done, I'm not going to accept more land that I don't think we can maintain. So I'm going to vote no on it.
Other comments or questions? Councilmember Cherney.
Well, I just recently got back into town, but I did have a chance to review last week's meeting a bit. And I tend to agree with Councilmember Warden's concerns with needing to improve the maintenance of the city's stormwater ponds. But we've experienced tremendous growth. We all know that over the last several years. And I believe the council is addressing a majority of its concerns with approving the addition of another stormwater FTE this coming year, and then an additional FTE in the year following. So, you know, that is a valuable piece of property. They're essentially giving it to us. I have a bit of concerns about it, but I think this is a good value, a good add to the city, its location, the additional storage space we're going to need as the city continues to grow and Public Works grows and our parks departments grow. We'll have additional equipment there as well. So I will be in favor of this purchase
Or donation.
or donation.
There's no purchase.
It's $10. It's a
$10. It is.
It's a purchase.
Oh.
Councilmember Chang.
There is no perfect land, I guess. And so this would be a good example of something that has benefits and also deficits. I am going to actually reverse my position because I know it's going to cost us, but I think we have a responsibility to take care of it. But I think we should in the future maybe consider other storm ponds. And I know that's not a popular thing, but I think we should consider that as well. So I'm going to vote yes on this.
Councilmember Diener.
I certainly understand Eric's concerns, Councilmember Warden's concerns. On balance, I think I'd like to reiterate what Mark has had to say and what Councilmember Fred has had to say as well. I think it's probably a worthwhile purchase in the end.
All right. Any other last thoughts? You'll be voting on adoption of an ordinance accepting a real property donation from Port Orchard Industrial Park LLC. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
All right, passes 6-1. We're to item B, the approval of the Fourth Amendment interlocal agreement with Kitsap Public Facilities District for a time-only extension. Mr. Crocker?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The city continues to work with the Kitsap Public Facility District to complete the Community Event Center project. And this work is governed by the terms of the Regional Center Interlocal Agreement. The current third amended version of the ILA expires at the end of 2025, and a time-only extension to the end of 2026 is necessary to allow for the completion of the SR 166 Bay Street project and to work towards construction of the Community Event Center. Staff recommends approval of Amendment Number 4, extending the agreement to December 31st, 2026.
Councilmember?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Amendment Number 4 to the interlocal agreement between the City of Port Orchard and the Kitsap Public Facilities District for the Community Events Center.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Morrissey, a second by Councilmember Teener. We started down a path. Remember, we have an original agreement that we're doing the time extension on this. And then we have the letter of intent for the additional funding. And we were working towards merging those two into one new agreement. The challenge is we haven't 100% completed our design, and we don't have our last cost estimate, which is going to come shortly after the first of the year. And so we were getting too many questions about what it's going to cost and things we couldn't answer to put a bow on a well-crafted agreement, which would hopefully be the last agreement that we do with the Public Facilities District before we can construct it. So that's why we're bringing forward just this time-only extension. This gets us into next year, gives us time to get our last cost estimate so we know truly what it's going to cost. And then we will work towards drafting that new final agreement with us between the city and the Public Facilities District. So just a little backstory there. So questions?
I'll just add that I think every project got extensions, all these ILAs were in before COVID hit. And so when I was on the Public Facilities District Board, we gave extensions across the board, mostly due to COVID, because everything's been backed up since then.
All right. There's no further questions. You'll be voting to approve the fourth amendment interlocal agreement with Kitsap Public Facilities District for time only. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that passes unanimously. We're to item C, approval of the October 28th City Council regular business meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Councilmember Fenton, go ahead.
I motion for the approval of the October 28, 2025 City Council regular meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Fenton, a second by Councilmember Terneri to approve the October 28th City Council regular meeting minutes. I believe Councilmember Morrissey is going to abstain. All in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And one abstention. The minutes are passed. That concludes our business items. We have one discussion item. We brought back at Councilmember Fenton's request the cabaret license discussion. And I think Ms. Archer previously wrote a memo, and it really speaks to the issue. I'll let not council member, our attorney, speak to this in a moment, but it's really a code enforcement tool. That's how we utilize it. And whether we have it or not, it's at your discretion. I don't think it needs to be modified. It's just whether or not we want to have this provision or not in our code. So with that, I will turn it over to our city attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's a great segue, because I do want to stress that at the outset of this presentation or this conversation, which is your staff has no dog in this fight. They will do whatever direction you provide to them. I'm here merely to offer you information about how it is currently used, how it's historically been used, and whatever direction you provide to us, we absolutely will implement. So if you choose to get rid of it, that's absolutely your purview. So that's the goal of this conversation, or sort of the context for this conversation. And it is a challenging word. I struggle with it. Sometimes I say cabernet, but cabaret licenses is what we're talking about tonight. So this is a license that this city has utilized for a long time, pertaining to businesses that, in addition to whatever their primary function, which is typically serving food, in addition to that, they offer live entertainment, dancing, singing, performance. And the context for it comes from the fact that those sorts of facilities often have a spike in their occupancy when those events occur, or they have additional public health and safety concerns that occur when the facility is being used for events of those nature. So that, I think, is the historical context for what it once was. There is definitely been a more modernization of permit approaches throughout the state, throughout the area, where the concept of cabaret or music venues or venues that are used for events have been broken into their component parts. And I think the memo lists, City of Tacoma, for example, has 30 categories of additional additional regulatory licensures, and the additional license you obtain for your venue, for your operation, depends on so many different factors for your facility. So the cabaret license in the city of Port Orchard has served a similar function for a number of years, where a room or place or space that is utilized for dancing, singing, performing of live music in connection with restaurants has that heightened regulatory license requirement. And that is a $100 annual fee that the businesses pay to be reviewed. And historically, there was an additional $100 fire district review fee that was eradicated when we moved your fire review in-house. So there's only Janine can correct me if I'm wrong, there's only a $100 fee that these businesses are paying for that license. Sorry to put you on the spot. Wonderful. So as to some of the facts of how it's utilized, in 2020, the city received, for example, 15 applications and all were approved. Since COVID, the numbers have fluctuated understandably, given that COVID did a doozy on venues of this nature. In 2021, the number of applications decreased to 8. We had 10 in 22, and then 9 each in 23, 24, and 25. The statistics on approval, I will pull that up. I know Brandy has provided that to me before, but it is rare that a license is ever denied. What actually typically occurs is we have a suspension of a license as we work through whatever the aspect is for that particular license. And then once the compliance with that particular issue is achieved, then the license is reinstated. Because it's a regulatory license and the city takes a voluntary compliance forward approach to code enforcement and I use code enforcement with the little c, little e, which means enforcing of all of our code and all the mechanisms we use to do so, which includes licensing. So the approach we take is very customer service friendly. So we often find these cases that last for a very long time as we work through whatever the compliance issue is. But the license, the cabaret license is one tool in that tool belt that your staff utilize. So an example of that I think would be helpful for you to see. So for example, we had one business, the one potential denial, it has not yet been officially denied for 2025, I believe it is. We started the concerns that led to the suspension or the non-reassurance of the license. Again, the business remains open as we work through all of this. We received a complaint about a heater that was installed without a permit in December of 2020. We continued to attempt to work towards compliance over the next couple of years. We noticed that no compliance had been gained. COVID obviously made it more challenging for us to focus our energy on code enforcement cases of this nature. But as we rolled into 2024 and 2025, we discovered that there still had never been a permit issued for the installation of a gas radiant heater. We continued in 24 and 25 to work with the individual, but did not reissue their cabaret license due to the ongoing compliance issue. Multiple notices were sent out. There was a lot of communication back and forth with the applicant. Ultimately, the applicant did not move the project forward enough, or did not move the project timely forward. So the retroactive permit for the unpermitted installation expired. So then we had to ask them to reapply for that installation permit. And then ultimately, we are now still trying to achieve compliance, and that cabaret license remains in limbo for that particular business. However, that particular business remains open because, again, we take a code enforcement friendly, voluntary compliance approach with these sorts of situations. In that situation, I raise it as an example because it is an indication of how your staff use the license as leverage rather than escalating the code enforcement case. And I think one thing I want you to take away from our conversation and to bring you back to the beginning of where I said, we'll do whatever you want, is you very recently gave your code enforcement team additional resources and additional tools. We revised chapter 2.64 of the municipal code to add additional penalties that they can utilize as leverage. We added additional process points, including a compliance agreement that when a violation is identified, property owners have to engage with us. So your code enforcement team now has additional tools that they can use to leverage compliance. I fully admit that those tools are a bit more punitive. They're penalties, they're monetary penalties, rather than sort of the collaborative approach that comes from trying to pursue compliance, which oftentimes can take a long time through the license route. So the license perspective a license as a code enforcement tool, again, little c, little e, is a unique and powerful leverage tool for agencies that is not duplicative of your building code and your code enforcement, but it works in harmony with and helps us buttress that. So a license is a conditional privilege that's provided to an individual. It doesn't vest them with a particular right, but it creates an incentive for them in a way that our monetary penalties do not. It motivates folks to seek compliance when used and when repealed in the event we don't have compliance, in a way that monetary penalties sometimes don't. Sometimes monetary penalties are sufficient. So I offer sort of the counterpoint that a license can be used as leverage, just merely to help your conversation as you're considering whether or not to keep both a license and the code enforcement tools that you recently gave your officers. Your staff are going to continue, regardless of what tools you give them, they're going to continue to take that voluntary compliance customer service first approach to their attempts at gaining compliance. It will just then dictate which route they go. So right now, if we get this example, if we get a notice of we have a heater installed at a business that was not permitted, instead of holding that license, we will then issue code enforcement penalties and have to move that direction if voluntary compliance is unsuccessful. So it's simply about which paradigm or which sort of process you want to encourage your staff to utilize. Again, that's after attempts at voluntary compliance are unsuccessful. 95% of the time, voluntary compliance conversations are successful. It's very few actors where we ever have to escalate our attempts at code enforcement. And the license has served as one of the tools that code enforcement and the department utilize to verify, is this business fully compliant with all aspects of public health and safety, and have to check that on an annual basis. But if we don't have that license available to us, we still will have our code enforcement tools available to us, and we'll still be able to say, is this business fully compliant, and if not, we'll have to go that code enforcement route, and we'll try to get compliance first, and then we'll utilize penalties. So I've thrown a lot at you conceptually, what the value license bring, the facts as far as how your staff currently uses them. Again, I'm not here as an advocate of any one particular perspective. We will be fine either way. We have the tools we need. But I did want you to have the picture of what we are currently utilizing it for. Again, we have other routes to achieve that. They just may have less of that nuance that a license brings, which sometimes motivates folks in a way that honestly monetary penalties sometimes don't. So with that, I'll pause, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have about that presentation.
Rose Pepe, go ahead.
Charlie, could you give a timeline? Because you put up two different scenarios, both with, code enforcement. And my understanding that if we maintain the cabaret license, this is, I believe, an annual inspection as opposed.
There's no.
Okay, I mean.
Only.
Okay, so this is where the confusion lies.
Right.
Is.
So they have an application. It
Right.
goes, one of the stops, it travels through the building department. And if they've got an active code enforcement case,
Right.
then it hits stop.
Right.
and they aren't issued their cabaret license.
Yeah, that part.
So
got
there
it.
are inspections associated with the code enforcement action, but the
Not necessarily
cabaret
with the
license
license
itself does not.
There's
have
no,
physical-
it has no
physical
enforcement action.
No inspection aspect. to it.
Okay.
So with a slight nuance to that. So it is not just the license process and the application process aren't just a catch-all for whether anything else is pending. If a property hasn't been visited in a number of years, if there hasn't been sort of a health check with the business, there are times when the inspectors will go out. So, but it's not happening on an annual basis. So if I said that, I misspoke.
No, that's,
yeah.
that's, I'm trying to gather this in my head that,
Right.
you know, if I'm a person that applies for cabaret license and everything, my business has been copacetic until that point in time, I get issued a license. Nobody's going to see if I have anything that I need to fix or repair on an item.
That isn't really the intent of the cabaret license.
Well, and-
I understand that.
Yeah, and philosophically, that isn't how any code enforcement works at any
Right.
public agency,
No,
right?
it's
I mean,
It's only when we go in for a permit or
it's
change to
all
a
either
business
complaint
or
driven
business.
or exactly
Okay.
permit driven or complaint driven. Yeah, and this license would be the same. Yeah. Mhm.
Appreciate that clarification.
Yeah, absolutely.
Councilmember Diener.
So in section B1A through F on page 74, there's a whole class of applicants that would not be eligible. Oh, my computer just died. No. Would not be eligible to apply for. And how would the lack of a cabaret license work for that class of applicants?
1 second. You're saying B.
1A on page 74 of the packet.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're referring to the packet. Is this a code section?
No, it's in your memo.
Oh, it's in my memo. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. E1A through F. So no cabaret license is issued to these applicants A through F. And if we do away with the cabaret licensing, how are we managing that?
That is not correct. And to the extent you have follow-up questions about that, I would like to pull us into an executive session.
Okay.
Go ahead. If you have follow-up questions.
And I'm also just curious, what is the underlying land use for the 2025 code compliance issue that we're still working with?
It is an unpermitted electrical installation. I think it's an electrical a gas radiant heater. So there's an electrical code compliance issue. I believe that the entity that installed it is no longer in business. And so we don't have the data as to how it was installed. And so the property owner has been attempting to find someone to retroactively design essentially what is in place.
Yeah. So my question is, what's the use occurring in that business that's still operating?
Oh, I'm sorry. I believe it is, it's a restaurant that has live music, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Can I add on that real fast?
Sure.
I believe that issue is the exhaust for that.
Well,
It's finding the specs for that.
and that may be the
Yeah,
case.
it's
Yeah,
pretty challenging because it's not like a standard
right.
thing. That's the company's no longer in business, and so
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that there are a lot of challenges to that. And we've been working with that property owner for a number of years, as I laid out in the
And
timeline.
they
And
changed ownership.
yeah, I bring you the timeline more just as an illustrative of we truly not try not to escalate unnecessarily. And the license has been a point of leverage, but it's not the only point of leverage. We do have other tools in our tool belt that we could still utilize for the same purpose.
Councilmember Morrissey, did you have a question?
Yeah, I had a couple. Thank you, Ms. Archer. So in your memo, you had indicated that this council implemented this cabaret license in 2005. Do you know what caused said implementation?
I do not, and I think it was a reinstallation or reinstitution of a code.
Okay, yeah,
So,
that caught me by surprise because it seems like a super old time like of law that would have been. And then at any point in time, have we been provided the list of these, say, 8 or 9 folks over the last 5 years who have? I think it may be immaterial because as I think about in our community, the types of businesses that may be interested in this, and some of the risk we may have. It may not be the same risk level as it once did. But I think my thought process lies in this probably also is the only point in which we deal with adult entertainment in our code. So if we repeal that, are we leaving ourselves without some kind of code that would regulate quote unquote adult entertainment? Because that would be my concern. Other than that, I don't know that I have the concerns that I did. And I know that I spoke for this in the past of seeing how it's worked in other communities, specifically Bremerton, a business over there called Brother Don's. Actually, this helped that business protect them because they are a music venue. I don't see that here. I think maybe while I like the idea of additional code enforcement, we have other tools that can still address that. So I think I've kind of changed my tune just a little bit on that, except for that last piece around making sure that we have some kind of protection in our code around adult entertainment.
Your question, the number, I don't have the list in front of me, but I believe it's a dozen or less. It's not a huge list.
Right. The data. Yeah. I presented the data and
8 is what she
at
has
this
in her
time we had
memo. I
8, yeah.
haven't seen that list to see, are there any folks I might have a worry? But
Yeah.
as I think about our entire community, I can't come up with one in our community that I would have a worry or, and then I also reminded myself that this is something that if we do take away, we can put right back in place too. So.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. And we always want to be cognizant and preaching to the choir here, but we're building code not for what we currently necessarily face, but what the potential is as well. So, but yes, I can get that data for you. We're going to do some quick research about adult entertainment, but that may require some follow-up as well, because I understand it to be prohibited in the city of Port Orchard. So I'll verify that.
Yeah, I think that adult entertainment falls something different than what we have in our city. And we got to remember too, I don't know how many restaurants were on that list saying they do not want the cabaret license when Robert McGee came forward. There was like, I don't know, was there 12 on there or more? There was a lot of restaurants that don't want that. And especially when you don't even have an inspection. And we have to remember too, every year you have to get relicensed, you have to get your permit. And so they pay a lot of money to stay in business. And they get, and they go through, people come in there every year. And so I think that's something to remember, that they're already getting, looked at. And why you have that cabaret license redundant. It's just, even though you say it's only $100, it's still $100 compared to like 7,000 that they have to permit, get licensed every year in a business.
Councilor Shank.
Charlie, I'm still trying to understand. So we're talking about a business, a restaurant that has live music. So what are they not allowed to do if they lack this cabaret license? I'm not understanding what the issue is.
Right. So this is the memo tries to differentiate between business licenses and then regulatory licenses, which are an add-on to your general business license. And so they need a general business license to operate. And then any business that also utilizes their facility in addition to a restaurant as their primary source for live music, any sort of live entertainment purpose. So if they did not have this additional regulatory license, which was designed to address those sorts of issues or the additional issues that those types of businesses raise, they would no longer be allowed to do that function. Yeah. And there's a distinction with special events as well, which are a one-time distinct thing. There's a separate regulatory permit that the city has put in place for special events. Yeah.
And this is an annual license.
You're
correct, annual. Yeah.
Your business that's having that music event that's covered under this is potentially and typically drawing a larger crowd of people into their establishment. So.
And I think Director Bond wanted to add an example.
Yeah, so I happened to talk to our former code enforcement officer, Doug Price. He's now in the building department. And prior to coming to Port Orchard, he had worked for the city of Lakewood, which only incorporated in the 90s. And back around Lakewood's incorporation, Tacoma started cracking down because they had major crime problems, and a lot of that centered around music venues. And what happened is when Tacoma started enforcing rules in Tacoma, it shifted a lot of this activity to Lakewood. And this was the tool that was most effective for ensuring that they had security and other infrastructure associated with a lot of businesses that were sort of converted to be these music venues where they were having shows and raves and other things that attracted a lot of crime. And while I don't think we have necessarily that type of activity here today, you never know what could happen. I don't know that we need the code necessarily today, but it is a valuable tool. And Doug was able to give me specific examples of how he used it for the city of Lakewood in that situation.
Can I ask two quick follow-up questions? Could we integrate this into the business license process? This is my first.
No, we plowed that field.
Yeah. So the general business license, yours is managed by the state. Yes. And so those are all form-based. We can have an add-on city-specific endorsement, but that is also auto-generated. So these regulatory licenses are something that the state requires the individual agencies to manage. So I'm not aware of any agency that's been able to tag a regulatory license onto their city-specific endorsement. They still have to have that separate regulatory license. But if that were the will of the council, we could absolutely look into that further.
Yeah, I think I'm going to leave my last 2 cents on this whole topic because I think I got all of it out other than wanting to know about the adult entertainment. If we could add that to make that a part of that. And I mean, I don't think the city's going to miss the $800 in fees that we took in on it. We just rather know that information and set that fee at $0 and have that as part of the business license. I'm okay leaving that tool, but only if those two things come to fruition.
And sorry, I do have an answer on the adult entertainment issue already. So the code, the provision of the code that pertains to your zoning uses does already have regulations associated with adult entertainment. It is not prohibited throughout the city, which Nick reminded me, thank you, Nick, that it constitutionally can't because it is a form of free speech. So in your city, it is zoned within your industrial zones. So there are two areas of your city that arguably someone could open an adult entertainment facility. Arguably, if that were to occur, they would be required to get a cabaret. Well, if they served food, I believe most do. I've never frequented one, but you would have to get a cabaret license were you to also include food.
Councilmember Ward.
Yeah. Fred, were you asking besides music, what else draws?
Sometimes they do go.
Large groups, like so example, there's a ton of like comedy shows that are done. There's a lot of bingo downtown. There's trivia. There's a lot of like different things that host large crowds certain nights of the week. You know, that's beyond sitting. You know, so I was kind of thinking about that.
Councilmember Warden, and you're referring to events that are happening in these established businesses. One of
correct
8 or 10, whatever it is.
Correct.
In the restaurants.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Specific. Yeah, I was thinking specifically those ones. John, Mark, and myself, council members, we talked one night about this. And one of the things that came up was like the concerns for fire. And so I actually reached out and emailed to ask Director Bond about this, and Angela responded back. Garcia, correct? Yeah, super good email. I learned a lot about how we do commercial fire inspections and the programs that we use and the frequencies. So if anybody does want to know about it, because it actually answered quite a few questions that we asked. She was very thorough. I know you'd like that. So
well, it was going to be one of my questions.
I'll forward it to you.
Forward to all of us.
Yeah, but it's well, I won't. I'll have Janine do it. Thank you. But anyways, but she answered it very thorough. Everywhere from they use iRoll, you know, that implements it, and so a lot of it is the same as like a septic system, where if they come and clean your system, it goes to the health department and notifies them every single time. It's just the kind of the same system. Is that correct, Mr. Bond? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So it's very great email, very informative on how our city does the fire inspections and the frequency of them. Because I was kind of curious about, we're not doing them every year. How are we? What about the small restaurants? And things like that. And so I'll forward this over to you guys if you don't mind.
Is there a short answer to how frequent
Yeah,
these
so-
business?
So the fire
being
inspections are supposed to happen on an annual basis.
Yeah.
The consultant, the company that you hire that does that inspection then reports it to this data.
I roll.
It's called iRoll. Okay, which we subscribe to that.
Mhm.
So this is where the cabaret license comes into play. You haven't, for some reason, your company didn't submit your report. You did it, but they didn't do, or you didn't do the body of work. And now your cabaret license, comes across the desk and, it ding, 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 ding. Hey, we can't issue this. You haven't, we haven't gotten your certification yet or your fire suppression system. So now gives us another tool then to make sure that that inspection happened or the report got submitted. So does that answer your?
Yeah, it does. That
Yeah,
helps.
so I just want, if you would thank Angela for the reply, that was terrific. And I'll send it to Janine and she can. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
And I think we have to remember that when you get a cabaret license, that's not an inspection. It's all those other license and permitting is what you're getting. And I'm sure all you guys, man, I love Tammy Frost Trio. They were at the swim deck and I probably went there for 7 years in a row. Our music down here our town needs that. And, if there's even a band over at the Blue Goose and, or at the Brick, they're not overly packed and, going out the seams. And people can go throughout so many different doors if there's a fire in a code. But I think it just helps our town and our community when we have live music or other little functions.
Okay, any further discussion? I'm just looking for some direction.
Well, I think we have an executive session, it sounds like.
Are we?
Would you like to have the executive? Do you have follow-up questions on that point?
But we're not making a motion.
Yeah,
though.
is
This
that
is
tonight or?
information.
Well, I think to the extent this is just a discussion, if the council is interested in moving anything forward, if you wanted me to bring back an ordinance to modify or repeal, or if you wanted to leave it the same, we can move that to the next agenda, but I would need the direction to draft something. So I would need a head nod from a majority to expend resources to draft something. My comment to you, Councilmember, about an executive session was your question about the applicants and identified staff are evaluated based on all of those criteria. And there's legal risk nuance to my answer that I would not be able to say in an open meeting. So I'm happy to answer that question for the council if it's relevant to your analysis as to the efficacy or import of the permit. But if your mind's made up, we don't need to go through that exercise. So.
Well, I think it might be beneficial just to have the complete picture of what was presented tonight.
Okay.
Before we decide. I'm not sure it's going to change anybody's mind, but I think it might be important to hear.
Asking for an executive session, we'll go.
So I would make a motion. So we do need to modify our agenda. So I would move to enter an executive session pursuant to 4230-110 1I. That would be you. I'm not a council member, to my chagrin. You making that motion.
What you just said.
Thank you.
I make a motion.
Okay.
Second.
The motion by Councilmember Diener and a second by Councilmember Morrissey to enter into a 10-minute executive session to discuss legal risk. And the statute was stated by our city attorney.
Before taking this vote,
No vote.
it says take no action on there.
There's no action tonight.
So are we done with comments then?
So we're gonna, anyone wishing to continue the discussion, Councilmember Trenary, I think you wanted
Yeah,
make a
I
remark.
just had a little bit of follow-up notes. You know, we've heard public comment about the licensing process. It's administrative top heavy, it's archaic, it's time consuming, not cost effective for the city. My issue with that is, I think one of our biggest and most important things the council, the body of council needs to do is protect our public, protect the safety of our public. And I can't and I won't put a price on public safety. I think that license should stay in place. However, there is also in public comment, there was concerns with the costs and what the value is they're getting for this $100 per year license. So I'd like to throw out there, why don't we just do a $0 cabaret license? We're talking what, $800, eight businesses? At our peak, it was 12 businesses in a year. Why don't we just continue it the way it is, but do a $0 cabaret license and continue with the safety, additional safety net that we have in place that allows our city, if needed, to go in and do inspections and keep our public safe.
So I saw eyebrows go up over there at the staff
So
table.
finance eyebrows, which is important eyebrows.
No,
No, so one of the contexts for permitting and for any of the services that we provide, right, is that we should not be providing services without attempting to recover our administrative costs, because otherwise we are providing a specific benefit. So for example, in the development world, we need to recover our consultant costs associated with specific or unique permitting for a particular property application. And we do so through setting our permit fees and making sure that they cover. I can guarantee you in the public records world, in there's lots of aspects of permitting, we do not come close to actually covering our administrative costs, but the council sets that number based on guidance from staff. So if the council were interested in keeping the cabaret license alive, I would just ask that I get data as far as the hours spent so that you have numbers to work with. Because otherwise, if we do a zero, then you do have a subsidy of an action where you have no administrative cover or no administrative cost recovery. So we tend to shy away from zero cost regulations because for that very reason of any nature. So I would say either none, or one with some administrative cost recovery. And I could give you the data of what those costs look like if you were interested.
So there could be a possibility where we analyze the staff time associated with it and potentially reduce the cost of the fee if it's warranted.
That would be one of absolutely, council could ask us to look at that. Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, do we have an adopted minimum administrative cost?
We don't.
Okay. 100 seems a little high.
Yeah,
in my view.
My gut tells me this is, I would say a new application, which is rare, more work goes into that than a renewal that doesn't have any, that states right. That's really fairly quick unless it hits a stop somewhere. And those don't happen every time either. So we could do that analysis.
Question for Nick. Nick, in terms of building permit processing and land use decision, is there an administrative fee that is captured there?
We charge a technology fee for any permit that comes in through our permit system. It's $10. I think there are a few small permits that are like over the counter $10 permits. I was just pulling up the fee resolution to see what our lowest fee is, but even on those permits, we still charge a $10 technology fee for the cost of paying for our annual subscription for permitting software.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we can happily do that work, but I'd be making a number up. Go ahead, Councilor.
Go ahead, Joey. Yeah, I think I would concur with this, looking at that cost. And then I think I can't make a decision one way or another until I know what our capability is of adding that to the business license.
I'm fairly confident we can't do that. finance director, and I looked into that previously.
We can't,
So weird that there's 280 of us throughout the state that don't have any ask of that or any need. I would think that they would build that accommodation in, or even that there's a separate page you got to print out that you can live on there, and then you got to turn it in directly to the city. I don't know, but we've got to find a way to make that where it's all in one process. Technology's come a long way these days. Maybe we just need to ask.
Well, I think it's born largely out of the state legislature, who a few years ago consolidated control over the business license process in order to make it uniform. So all cities were obligated to choose either between the state and File Local, which is another group that was created. And you have to use them for all your business license processing, including your endorsements. And so because these are regulatory licenses that vary dramatically city to city, right? City of Twisp doesn't probably have a cabaret license. They probably don't have any restaurants. They might, I don't know, but they do, sorry. Not to disparage Twisp, they're a beautiful community, but for the state to then build a uniform system that would apply to all agencies, I just don't think that was in their framework when they were making a uniform application process. They deferred it to each individual agency to do their regulatory licenses themselves. But that's a lobbying point with your state legislators.
I hear you, but it's not a tool that we can use.
Not anytime soon, certainly.
So I'm hearing a few comments about gathering some more data and bringing this back. Is that kind of the direction I'm?
Yeah, at this point, Mayor, I would ask that you take a look at the fee. I have some concerns about lessening public safety that Mark brought up, but I would like to see what we could lower the fee to be to make it more business friendly. But I like the avenue of public safety.
I haven't looked this way, but the heads were nodding up and down over here.
yeah. Oh, well, it kind of goes piggyback off of on John and you too. I don't see why, doesn't restaurants have to have also a city license too, or no, it's just state?
This, when you apply for your state license, there's an endorsement box you check and a fee you pay, and then that fee passes through to us.
Right.
And that's a separate process for the state of Washington.
Yeah.
We don't do it.
And we can't incorporate this licensing process with that.
No, but can't we just have like on our website for businesses to say, oh, do you, in 0 feet, are you going to do a cabaret license or not? That's a separate in our city. We can't do that just on a separate piece of paper.
Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. So what I was saying on that is, if you create a regulatory license, so what you just talked about is the general business license, this
Yes.
additional license, you can't charge $0 because there is staff time associated with getting the documents, looking at the documents. And so you're entering into what's known as the gift of public funds doctrine, right? Because you're giving a special benefit without recovering the costs associated with that benefit. And I understand benefit's probably a challenging word in that context because the business doesn't see it as a benefit. They're being regulated, but the benefit is for the whole public. Yeah.
So so we'll bring this back. I don't know about in 2 weeks, but as soon as staff and city attorney can compile that data and bring back what the minimum we could charge to recover our cost for this application. Is that an acceptable solution this evening?
Unless we
To
can-
start,
Yeah, I just, excuse me, I've been fighting a cold. We had a member of the public come in and request us to look at this some time ago. And I felt it was worthwhile, but I wanted to share why. I think whenever somebody comes in and asks what may be or makes what may be a moderate case for a code review, I think we should consider that. I think it's worth hearing out. And so that's why I supported it up front. That doesn't necessarily mean I'll support it on the back end. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I think we owe it to people who make a case for code review that we should consider that more strongly.
And this last summer, we did that body of work, and that's where that memo came from. And we looked for direction at that point in time. We're bringing this back because the issue was raised a second time.
Yeah, and I understand that happened. I'm just thinking maybe we could look at that a little differently in the future.
All right, so we'll be back with more information. All right, let's move on to our committee reports. I don't know that any, let's run through them here quick, if anybody's met.
We had land use met.
Land use met?
Yes, we
Okay,
did.
That's the only committee that I'm aware of that met, so go ahead and give your report.
We had two items regarding from McCormick Woods and concerning McCormick Village and what is McCormick Trails? I always get them mixed up. Basically asking for some amendments, some changes, and we discussed those in committee. Gave some guidance back to Nick. He's having some discussions with McCormick Land, and they'll be coming back to committee and eventually to council, but nothing specific to report on at this time. That's it.
All right, and I'm not aware of any other committee that met here recently or since the last council meeting. So, and I'm probably through the holidays, probably not going to have many more committee meetings, I don't think. So, but case by case, we'll counsel them as we get close to that meeting date. And if there's no agenda items, you'll likely get an email. I've got a brief mayor's report, and that is, you missed out if you weren't dedication of Givens Park yesterday. The young man, Alex Wynn, who as a 12-year-old is, gosh, is he in college now? Nick?
Nope.
No, high school?
He's in
Running start. So he's
He's a senior in high
junior
school.
college.
And nice young man. He was there. He submitted the petition that with 200 signatures on it for this futsal court, and that got submitted with our RCO grant application, and it started the process. Gosh, 2012, 22. Okay, I'm getting all the dates wrong. I had it in my speech yesterday, but. Thank you to Alex, the Port Orchard Rotary Club for the $50,000 that they contributed to the project. And our public works just really, they're really busy right now trying to decorate the town for Christmas, but they took some time, did the landscaping out there and really dressed the park up well, did some painting this summer out there. The park really looks nice. It's a beautiful improvement in that neighborhood. So
I look forward to some futsal leagues being developed. I would love to watch that.
I don't think the mayor mentioned, we believe that's the only futsal court on the peninsula.
Yes. And it's
So
Sorry.
I think that's a cool distinction for our community. So
I love it. It's a great sport.
and there's 4 pickleball courts too.
Yeah.
So they've been getting lots of use. And Mr. Ryan's going to bring probably back. We're a little concerned about early morning pickleball, and we might in that neighborhood setting. So we might bring back altering from our typical park rules from sunrise to sunset to maybe something a little later in the morning. So we'll see. That's just something under consideration. That's all I have. Department heads, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you. Just a few quick updates. So next week we put out a notice that we will be doing some road work out at Bay Street, close to the transit ferry dock in Annapolis. Yes. So that'll be one-way traffic is the plan that they'll allow some localized traffic, but there will be a full detour in place. So we put that notice out. We're going to do another blast tomorrow, just to remind folks. It's going to be daytime closures. We're going to get people to work. Work will be between 9 and they'll be off the road by 4 is the requirements we put on the contractor to keep free for the commute and school.
That
And
was
then
an air gap project that you guys funded for the sewer main.
Yep.
And then the following week, that work will continue. The road will not be closed, but they'll be near the roundabout at Bethel, Maple Lincoln. I'm sorry, Bethel Bay Street interchange there. That will be a little bit difficult. There'll be some traffic, but we're going to get the project going as quick as we can. So that's the second air gap that they're going to be doing. We're continuing to try to work with the contractor that's doing the sewer repairs. It's a private development out in Sydney. Our crews are prepared to respond if there's incidents over the weekend, and we have billed that contractor for our time. So we are tracking, and that's all I had.
And the houses are gone?
They are demobbed shortly. They do have to come back. There's some additional work where the old aquarium was. They have plates, and then they have to come back and set there'll be concrete jersey curbs that will go in front of the former driveways. So
I got to ask, former aquarium?
Yeah, that was the tropical fish store there
Oh,
when I
okay.
was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, years and years ago.
Yeah, I wasn't here.
Councilmember Rosebay?
A lot of people go, basically, what have you done for me today? That's what you did yesterday. So the houses are gone. What is the word on the pilings? I know that we're waiting for some permission.
That's a different piece
Right.
of machinery, the same one that drives pile.
Right.
So
I know.
it'll be part of the construction project, and the soonest that's going to be is 2027. And I don't know that that's realistic because of all the other, if we truly go to the construction on the community center and truly go to construction on Bethel Phase 1, there are only so many engineers in the city of Port Orchard.
I was just asking what the
Yeah.
next step was with the pilings, because that
Yeah.
will be the next question will be asked.
When the next phase
Phase
of
starts.
gets constructed, the pilings get removed.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I would add too that we were able to expedite the demo because it was not in water work.
Right.
They worked from land, so we didn't trigger any kind of fish survey or extra precautions. So that's why we were able to proceed with that part of the phase of the project.
Thank you.
And Mr. Ryan, or Crocker, I know the answer to the sewer or the water question. Would you care? I know you'll get a hold of that gentleman and explain this to him, but why he's being charged for that?
Yeah, so again, Mr. Wilson sent you all an email with a nice note. He has spoke with several staffers already, and we have explained already how the code works and how billing works, and that he's being billed appropriately. So it's not a contest whether we're being billed appropriately. He just doesn't want to be billed for the second half of his duplex. Again, per code, multifamily residential connections, the bi-monthly base rate is calculated based on number of units. And so he has number of units served by one master meter. And so that is how the code is set up to charge for him. So we are charging appropriately, and there's really nothing for us to be able to remedy his request of not charging him utility fees on property or on a residential unit he owns, just as not occupied.
Have you walked him through that table?
Water, didn't you? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we have. He just
Yep.
doesn't like the answer. And so, and he is benefiting from the fact that we went to a consumption model and reduced our base charge. He's only being charged the base charge
For his water.
for
For
the
sewer.
water bill, but he's not, if there's nobody living there, there's no consumption. So he's not
Okay.
paying for
Because he
consumption.
talked about on the water, and I get stormwater and sewer are set rate, and whether there are people there or not, you're going to pay that. But he kept talking about paying for water when nobody's there, and I couldn't follow that because I said we went to consumption. I wanted to jump out and say we went to consumption, but
there's still a base fee.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then you pay consumption after the base fee, and it's 1 meter. So he's paying 2 base. I've got a duplex, so it's two base charges and then your consumption on top of that. So
The one solution is for him to install a separate water line and a separate meter. And of course, that's very costly, and he's not going to do that.
But even if he did that, he would still pay the same amount because he would still be.
Well, we could turn off the water on the non-occupied unit when I charge him.
And not be charged.
And not
You
yeah.
can shut it off, but then turn it on in the spring when he gets his tenant improvement.
Of course, that's probably more expensive overall.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to.
But it is an option. It is an option.
Yes. So anyway, Noah will reach out to him again and
but then
explain it how,
that
but
off.
there isn't a lot we can do with that.
So we will respond to Mr. Wilson again. Again, he was very friendly with staff. They're very nice, respectful. I think he just didn't like the answer and thought he could come here and council could do something. The option would be to change the code, but I would not advise that, and we'd have to do real analysis to look at that specific scenario.
All right. Is that anything else?
That's all.
Staff report?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Bond?
Yes, Councilmember Diener had requested that I report back to the city council on the Island Olympia tent vendor. And I did some investigation on this. I contacted the city of Shelton. I was under the impression that this business was doing business in the city of Shelton. The city of Shelton indicated that they have not permitted the use of that business or an open fat fryer within a tent, and that that we shouldn't confuse their lack of enforcement with approval of what has been set up if it is operating in Shelton. After I followed up with the gentleman with the lumpia stand, he said, well, it's not Shelton, it's actually Mason County. And so I had already sent the city council an email explaining the code requirements at that time. Mason County apparently has created a special program for mobile vendors. It is something that they would have to create code for, they'd have to create an application process for, and then we'd have to figure out a way to inspect for these mobile vendors. And they're doing it on like a pilot program where I think they've issued 4 of these permits. Given the extreme high volumes of permitting in our department, I don't think we have the resources to initiate a program like that. Moreover, the building code does not allow open fat fryers within a tent. You're not supposed to have cooking appliances or devices that produce sparks, grease-laden vapors, or flying embers within 20 feet of a tent. And so to do that, I think they're treating this as like a special event, and you can do something in a tent under a special event, but not on a regular use. I think the risk is fire, but also with an open fat fryer, you're potentially talking about grease entering our storm drains, which we also don't want. And so I did follow up on it. It sounds like Mason County has created some sort of path for this. But again, I think the resources that it would take to get this off the ground are probably more than we should pursue at this point in time.
Now, Mr. Bond, correct me if I'm wrong. That code you're referring to has to do with a permanent location, or permanent or semi-permanent location, but special events like the farmer's market, our night market, the holiday on the bay, those are special events, and those are captured. This doesn't fall under that. So you're allowed to do that activity at a special event. You just can't do it
and call it a special
doing it in Monday through Friday at a location, because that's considered permanent. So you can do it on Saturday at a special event, but you can't do it day-to-day operation is really.
And I confirmed with the building official as to why that distinction. If you think about it, it makes sense, and I appreciated it. So for a special event, we go out and we inspect how it is set up. We have plans for specifically how it will be set up, and we ensure that it's set up in that way. If they were to use this as a permanent location, we would have to inspect each day, because they're either taking it down each day, or we are not aware that each day they fire up that fat fryer, the grease hasn't built on the ceiling, the equipment hasn't been modified in some way. So there's a limited exception for this type of work in a special event, which is specifically regulated for a one-time use in that nature, as opposed to it being a permanent cooking facility, which the tents are not built for that functionality.
And this type of cooking equipment can go in a food truck. And if somebody wants to have a fat fryer in a mobile vendor, it needs to be in a food truck with a hood and a proper fire suppression equipment.
And are they looking to reestablish the Town Square Mall?
So this had been set up at the Town Square Mall, yes. Was that the question?
Yes.
Yes, correct.
Well, my question was, is that where they want to continue to set up?
I have not heard that they're looking at other locations, but that was where it had been operating without approvals.
I'm just curious, because that clearly, to me, separates it from special events.
Yes.
I thought it was a truck. It's not a truck, it's a tent.
It's a tent.
Okay, thank you.
I agree. That's what was presented to us, was it was a truck. Initially it was
So
presented.
you want a permanent structure in a tent? Is that what he's trying for?
Pop up.
So it doesn't comply, and we're just following up and making you understand why.
I will say that.
Yeah. Mr. Bond, do you have anything else?
That is all. Thank you.
Ms. Archer?
Thank you. 2 quick things. One, just to flag for you, I and my colleague Jennifer, who was here at your last meeting, will be presenting at the AWC Elected Officials Essentials Workshop on December 6th, and that's something you can dial into remotely. It's always a nice refresher. It's geared towards newly electeds, but it's always a great refresher, so I invite you to that. Jennifer also conveyed to me that at the last council meeting, there was a concern about social media usage and social media accounts that was raised. And she conveyed to me that it was a good training point again for the council. I know we've talked before about the Lindkey versus Freed decision from the US Supreme Court. And that decision just from a couple years ago changed the landscape entirely as it relates to whether your social media accounts are First Amendment public forum. So prior to that decision, we had a Ninth Circuit decision that said if you were using your personal social media account or a social media account that was attached to you, linked to you in any way, if you used that for city business, there was a risk that you were creating a public forum. And if you created a public forum, there were a number of elected officials who got in a serious First Amendment hot water for blocking comments, deleting comments. The Linkey versus Freed decision from the U.S. Supreme Court reversed all of that analysis and made me change all my trainings, and said that unless you are directed as an elected official to post something, then it is not a public forum. The only time a public forum is created is if you are directed, and the only people who can direct the council are the other council members. So there would need to be a vote of 4 of you to say, Councilmember Diener, I need you to post this item on your Facebook. Only in that context would there be a public forum created, and would blocking comments, blocking participants be a public, a First Amendment risk. So since that decision came out, you're free to utilize your personal Facebook pages in a way that is free of First Amendment analysis. Huge caveat to that, the public records laws of Washington still apply to documents, to records that you touch. And so in certain circumstances, there may be posts you make or conversations you have on accounts that are identified as an official account that could have public records implications. So it's not every post you make, it's not every conversation you have, but there are some. The courts have given us some guidance on this. So your campaign pages do not typically apply. Those are not public records. Those are for election purposes. If it's a pure personal account and you are merely engaging in conversation with your neighbors about, hey, come to this council meeting, we're going to talk about these things, we have guidance from the courts that that's not a public record. But as to public records laws, those remain highly nuanced and an important conversation for you and I to ever have if we get a public records request, or if you have any issues with your use of your social media. But as to First Amendment analysis and the idea that there's legal risk associated with you choosing to block or exclude someone from your personal page, I'm not a prolific user, but I understand you can do that. You can say no to people who want to post. You can delete posts. There's no First Amendment concerns with that after the Linkey versus Freed decision. So any questions on that? I'm always happy to take them offline. Thank you.
Thank you. Janine, do you have anything from the clerk's office?
Nope, you just get to check.
I'll get to him. He doesn't always get to go next.
No report, thanks.
And Miss Lund, you're in the audience. Yeah, I bet.
Save me for last.
I'm saving him for last.
Well, good evening. It's been a while since I've been here. So I do have a report to give you. Since my last visit here about 6 months ago, we've updated some job descriptions and some policies, and we're required to report those to you. So I'm going to go quick. Job descriptions under ordinance 008-20. The mayor has authorized changes to municipal court administrator, deputy director, community development, plans examiner, building inspector 2, and our parking enforcement officer job descriptions, all housekeeping in nature, updating language, formatting, that kind of thing. Under resolution 007-11, we're required to report to you when the mayor authorizes changes to existing personnel policies and procedures. And again, I have a list for you. Inclement weather, we updated that policy coming into the storm season to recognize telecommuting and working at alternative city facilities as options. Workers' compensation to address the day of injury and how we will pay you when you're at the hospital emergency room waiting for your stitches. Sick leave, the legislature made some changes to allow sick leave for immigration purposes. So we had to update our sick leave policy, and we had to do some clarifying language related to the Family Medical Leave Act and sick leave, which also changed our Family Medical Leave Act policy. The Smart Commuter Benefit Program you approved earlier this year to allow the city to help employees with carpooling efforts and van pooling has been very popular, and was requested that we expand that to seasonal and temporary employees, and we did that so that they too can take advantage of the Orca card that we can purchase for them, et cetera. Lastly, updating the personnel policies, personal holiday policy, just to kind of prorate those policies depending on the time of year that you're hired. We just felt like we needed to make some changes there. End of my report, other than to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Debbie.
I got a question for Ms. Lund.
Certainly.
Yeah, I just had a quick question. Something kind of unsettled me there. I don't think I tracked it. Maybe at the state legislature, but you had said that there's a change that you can use sick leave for immigration purposes. So at what point does immigration fall under a sickness?
If at the point that you or a family member need to take time off of work to deal with an immigration matter, you can deduct that time from your sick leave bank if you're an hourly employee.
So do we differentiate sick leave from other leave?
We do, vacation, holidays, that kind of thing.
Okay. I'm very confused on how that qualifies as a sickness and or what other sicknesses could I use as an excuse to use that time?
The Washington State came out with the paid sick leave requirement, 1 hour of sick leave for every 40 hours worked thing a few years back. So I think they're just adding to that as they continue to see some employers don't provide that paid time off very easily to their employees. And I think the legislature's attempt is to say, hey, people have lives outside of work. And
Well, I get
sometimes it
that. That's why we
requires them to
provide paid
be off.
time off, right? Other than sick leave.
Right.
So I think I have a problem with that, but it's not with you, right?
Right.
But
Right.
that's a whole nother situation.
Yeah,
So,
it's a very long list of reasons you can take sick leave. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate
Same with bereavement.
the Family Leave Act
Yeah.
and some of the things that it's done for folks. It has caused us probably, I'm missing probably 20%. It's about a 20% impact, overall. It does, there is an impact, a definite impact. So, but that's a conversation for another day. Chief, you've got to.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to publicly brief you on the incident in South Kitsap High School last week because there's been a lot of public interest, and then also a little bit of my own crawl. So on November 20th at 10:58, our officers were dispatched to South Kitsap High School for the report of a student who had been hit in the head with a pole. Officers arrived at 11:01, so 3 minutes later, and contacted a 15-year-old female in the nurse's office. The student had a head injury and was being treated by school staff. South Kitsap Fire and Rescue was dispatched to provide additional medical aid, and she would eventually be transported by aid to a local hospital for additional treatment. Officers contacted an additional victim, a 15-year-old male, who had been the original caller to 911. The male had also been hit in the head, sustaining an injury. He received medical aid and was later taken by private vehicle to a local hospital for additional treatment. Officers identified a suspect and developed probable cause to arrest a 16-year-old male for reckless endangerment and assault 3. Suspect was contacted in a classroom and arrested at 11:13, so 12 minutes after we arrived. He was booked into the Kitsap Juvenile Detention Center, and additional charges may be filed by the prosecutor's office as appropriate. The investigation determined that the suspect had dropped a metal stanchion from landing above where 2 victims were seated, and the stanchion struck both victims. But I also want to address my messaging on that morning. I could have done better, and for that I apologize. And I want to take a moment to express my sincere regret for not wholly communicating my position. I fully support the officer's decision to make the arrest. Their actions were both within policy and legally permissible. We'll always support our officers when they do what is right, both legally and ethically. No officers were disciplined over this incident. Our department continually evaluates our actions and responses to calls, looking to identify ways where we can improve informants and better serve our community. And there are nuances to law enforcement activities within our schools. We discussed the time, place, and manner of making arrests within a classroom. The goal is not to disrupt the learning environment any more than necessary, but we do not consider providing a criminal suspect the means to escape embarrassment or accountability. I understand the way that we conduct our business is as important as the desired outcomes. My statement was meant to convey our commitment to this concept and acknowledge that optics matter, and that includes my message. And I alone carry the weight of an unclear message that led to confusion and misunderstanding. I'm proud of our officers and the work they do every day in this community. I appreciate and respect our department members and members of our community who hold me accountable for our words and deeds. We all deserve to work in an environment where we're allowed to make mistakes, fall, and get back up again. So thank you for your continued support of our department, its personnel, and it remains a privilege to serve this community. So I'm more than willing to answer any questions that I am able.
Councilmember Rose Pepe, go ahead.
Chief, I think you're being too tough on yourself, to be honest with you. I talked to an administrator at the high school, and they feel that the situation was handled appropriately. And so thank your officers, and stop whipping yourself.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Councilmember Patton, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd want to thank you, Chief Brown, and for the superintendent to come in here too. And yeah, you are being a little hard, but you handle it really well. And also, I just like how you having that relationship is super important with the school and then you guys.
Yes.
And so, yes.
100%. Thank you.
Councilmember, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, first off, I know how much you respect your officers. So your initial statement that you sent out, I didn't take it anything more than I know who you are and I know how much you value your staff. So yeah, don't be so hard on yourself too. But can I ask what changed?
Nothing changed.
Mm-mm.
So
I spoke to the mayor and I was kind of curious of what happened, and he told me that it was a little bit different, but nothing changed. Just the
message you initially put out was confusing, and that has caused some consternation in the community. So this is more to make sure that messaging is correct, to make sure that everyone understands where we stand. I mean, there are a number of people that believe that officers have been disciplined. That is not the case. When we sit down after these and debrief, I could have used a different word than counsel, because that was what caused the confusion. No one was counsel. We sit down after these incidents every time. Sometimes it's our sergeant, sometimes it's command staff, but we look at all of these things, whether they're high profile or not, but when they're high risk, and we say, okay, we know that everything that we can do better, right? We can always look back and have an objective eye and say, all right, if something like this similarly comes up, what should we do that will be better than the last? And that's what we did. But my messaging was confusing, and that caused the issues as it kind of spun around on Facebook and within the community. And I would rather come here and, like I said, eat a little bit of crow and make sure that the community understands and hears from me what the reality is, so that there isn't any question that people aren't filling in blanks.
I applaud you. So yeah.
And when we spoke, that first message, it just.
Oh, no,
came
that's what I
out,
was saying.
and it led to many people to assume not the right things. And if anything, maybe we should have maybe slowed down a little bit and put a better message out later versus rushing to get something out immediately.
You guys are fantastic. So.
Yeah, and so I mean, another one of those things where we just haven't caught up to some of our goals. I mean, as you've read in our strategic plan, the goal is to have a strategic communications plan so that when incidents come up, we're not building the plane while we're flying it. We have a framework to address some of these things that can slow down messaging and have it be a little bit more accurate. But I always try and say, okay, this happened, so how do we make next time more successful even with our partners? And so Superintendent Winter and I have been close. We both arrived in this community at the same time. And so we've had some long discussions over the last few days of saying, we've had enough incidents at the school where we really need to have a plan so that we can coordinate our message, because our goal is obviously, safety at the high school, but we do have different missions.
Yeah.
So
great response time. Please.
Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I too will echo. You're being hard on yourself, but I appreciate that about you. Your commitment to excellence, both in yourself and in your staff, is always apparent, right? And I couldn't think of two better individuals here, both in front of us tonight, that carry such high character in the roles that they serve in this community. So we appreciate that because that's the ante to the party to holding the job and holding this community together. And so I know I need to tell you, we appreciate that just as much as I tell Superintendent Winter. I hope that we can get some, I don't know if we have that message anticipated getting out there on official channels. I think that's a great message. I think people need to hear some of that timeline too and understand, how fastly this all really happened, because I too have seen some of the stuff in the interwebs that make this, we're talking about this short of a time window. And so you did a great job. I will also say I would love to see this council get behind this. I know this is probably 2 meetings in a row. I think last week I was asking for a K-9, but I think a school resource officer is absolutely something that this community could benefit from, and I hope that we can find some resources in the future.
Thank you. Yes, and this message that I read you was published on our website and both Facebook pages today at 4:00.
Thank you.
And I respond, you saw my message back to that. I shared it with all of you that, that isn't in the police strategic plan for the police department in our long-term plans. We're still getting complaints though about property crime and car theft and speeding and reckless driving. So,
but if there's a lot of young youth out there participating in that, if they have a good influence with the school resource officer, maybe we have a lot less of that. So I do think it a benefit to this community.
Yeah, it's in our plans. So, Councilor Diener.
So I won't further the accolades that you've gotten, but I agree with the speakers before me. I think it's underappreciated, the kind of the variety of emergency situations that you have to respond to, which requires different thinking for different approaches. And so it's not, your jobs aren't necessarily run of the mill. And so I appreciate your response and how it worked out. I also think it's important for the public to hear tonight, those that will listen to this, that you do a debrief after these kinds of events and talk about teachable moments. And so that's really important to hear as well. And so thank you for what you do and your officers as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That completes the department head reports. We're to our second citizen comment period. Deputy Chief, any wanting to address the council this evening? No? Anybody online? Please use the raise your hand feature. Is anybody online, Janine?
We have 2 people online, but they have not raised their hand.
All right, we'll close the second citizen comment period.
And I'm sorry, can I also interject? So the notice that he just read has not been posted to the city's Facebook page yet, but it will be by the end of the day.
Well, the day's kind of over, but if you're here.
Yeah, how about tomorrow?
Maybe tomorrow.
How about tomorrow morning?
Facebook never waits.
So, we're good of the order. I just have one. I am having some surgery in another week, and I will miss the December 9th council meeting. So Councilmember Diener, I'm just putting you on notice that you'll be running the meeting on December 9th.
I will be in town for this.
All right, sounds good. That was you have a good of the order, sir?
I have 2 quick good of the orders. One, I don't believe this body meets before our big holiday extravaganza here in town. Holiday on the Bay is not this weekend, but the following, but I don't believe we meet next week. So there's that. And then secondly, speaking of, because she's probably knee deep in planning Holiday on the Bay, she also sent us an email from Sam Smith at Josephine's talking about the bathroom facility and some of the conversations we had on whether or not that should be open all the time. I think we kind of heard from the merchants saying maybe until we get more activity and more stuff going over there, we shouldn't have it open at all times. And I thought that maybe we should approach that topic again.
Okay. So where we're at right now, because of the railing that needs to be installed on it, it isn't open at all. I'm not certain what the timeline on that railing is.
It was manufactured yesterday and it went in for galvanizing. So we should be getting it in the next few weeks.
Okay, so it probably won't even be available for us to use at the home. So it's not urgent, but it's a fair question. Sam and the merchants did weigh in saying, I know, I recommend from a step, so the restroom was never designed to be a public restroom. It's not bulletproof like your typical public restroom. It was, when the design happened to that building, it's a nice restroom, and it won't hold up to unwanted activity into it. I'll say that. It was in the midst of the design, the council gave directions. We want a public restroom down on the waterfront. And so the design of it didn't change, just the desire to have it something be more than a staff restroom down in that facility.
How nice is this Taj Mahal bathroom?
It's just not your typical.
Isn't it built into the sewer lift station?
It is, but it doesn't have your solid stainless things like a typical park restroom is what we would typically. So it's got an expensive faucet, all-in-one faucet that is also a hand dryer in it. All in one unit. It's just not if you go to one of our park restrooms, you know what I'm talking about. The sinks are bolted to the wall and they're made out of, cast stainless steel. The toilets are that way. It's not that type of, it isn't that type of restroom, and it won't hold, it won't hold up the way the ones that are in our park were designed.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. What was the contemplated use of this bathroom once it was?
Staff restroom.
So was it locked then, except for staff?
That is the intent. Right now, it's not open because.
No, I know it's not open right now.
That was the intent in the design.
Okay.
And it wasn't this city council, because that design took years. It was 3 or 4 years in process. Council before this gave direction to staff to say, but we want that to be a public restroom. Okay, but it had already been designed.
Well, there was a public restroom in the former dump station.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just telling you what we have.
Yeah, no, this makes sense. It's funny that there's all this opposition to something that's not even open yet.
Correct. We got an email. John brought it up, and I'm just.
It's not even open.
And
nothing's happened.
So the recommendation, my recommendation, staff's recommendation, and the merchant's recommendation is open this restroom on the weekends during the summer when the waterfront is active, when we have special events. I wish we were be able to get it open for the Christmas festival, but it's not going to be ready because of the ADA compliance. But we'll do whatever you guys want us to do. I'm just saying it'll take staff time to lock it and unlock it on a daily basis. And my concern is folks hoteling in the restroom because there aren't eyes on the waterfront. The Port of Bremerton, whose office is right there, is also asked us not to open it on a daily basis. So.
Well, then they shouldn't be advertised as public restrooms, because we have people that come for the summer and they visit during the week, and
yeah. And when we open that plaza out there and open the community center, that restroom should be open every day of the week, because we're going to have people down there and activity down there. We've got people parking there and leaving right now. And in the wintertime, not a lot of that activity.
Okay, I'm looking forward to more discussion.
Yeah, me too. I thought that email came just from Sam, not all the merchants, because I know another merchant.
President of the Merchants.
He signed both.
Right. But when I was talking to Lizzie down there, she wanted that open. So unless they changed their mind, or because I thought it was just she didn't want that open. But so I'm surprised, because I like to hear from the other merchants.
And her main objection was operational costs.
And that's part of it too. Yes.
Well,
of her bathroom?
Of the bathroom.
Go to the order.
Yes.
No, of the.
Yeah.
During the week.
Scott passed out an email with the Kraken on it.
Yeah, that was cool.
definitely interested in trying to go that route.
So we pivot away from the bathroom. And
It's good. It's good of the order. I mean, the bathroom conversation needs a
We got to talk more.
that needs to be another day. That needs to that needs to be another day. I'm killing that conversation. But I definitely think that we need to. That's a game changer. That's a game changer. I want to, whatever staff needs to.
So I've already
look into that.
We talked already about with the
You
design
have that.
team. We're on it, and the
Yeah.
folks at Rice Fergus Miller
Yeah.
and have that, and the landscape architect. The other thing I'm trying to get is, remember the FIFA money we put into the budget to spruce up the waterfront? I haven't seen what the benches and things. So we have seen some of the concepts. I want whatever we go and buy this spring to be cohesive to what we're getting for design. So they're giving us some options for that. And Nick, what was the other? So we talked about furniture, and we're going to bring back some of the concepts for the furniture at a future meeting. I think it's in January. We picked a date. So we
Yeah, I
picked a
believe
date,
it's
and this-
January.
So yes, we're on that.
Yeah,
There's a
good,
number.
good.
There's a
Thank
number
you.
of things, decision points that we're going to bring back to you guys too, as far as the style of the furnitures and things of that nature. And inside.
There's a few of us that want to push hard for that. So I'm not sure what it costs. I'm sure it's not free, but
it
it's
won't
it can be worth it. So
But would we want it all, because the ones the Krakens that we saw, they're all wood. And so that would be really, really expensive. What about a plastic one that's big like that? They don't make those?
I
It doesn't match the building.
Yeah. So we'll anyway, the
That
landscape,
will be later.
that's for the folks that
Yeah.
design this stuff, and
Okay.
they're going to bring back some concepts and ideas. Were you done with your good of the order?
Well, I guess I was told I was, so my point, I think we should be listening to our Merchants Association and the folks that are impacted deeply down there on that. I would agree.
I mean, we're not making a decision on that tonight.
No, I just want to bring it back up. Maybe
Yeah.
we should talk about it at a future session or whatever we need to do, but I don't want it to get lost in the emails that I generally let get lost.
It's not ready to be open, and until we resolve this, I'm not planning on opening it unless it's a special event. And for sure, we're going to get it open this spring when we have activity down there in the farmer's market or a night market or any of those times. Let's make it available.
Is it using tile? Does it use tile in the bathroom?
I don't believe so.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
See, you thought we got rid of this discussion. We did. Yeah.
We're in good of the order. Anything else for the good of the order?
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott. No, I got a couple.
Okay, so, Mr. Mayor, you passed on a letter from Kevin, Liz, and Jane of Stanwick Way, who was very complimentary to our planning department. They felt warmed and embraced when they met with the planning department. And they felt like it was a great help and a great asset towards their goal. I would like it if we could make note of these during our meetings, if we could call these out, because I think it's important for the public to hear what we get in writing, not just the bad, which, bad news travels fast, but the good. And so I think it'd be important to call these out, because this was a great letter and a testament to our staff.
You guys just beat me up about the length of my mayor's reports.
Okay.
We're using it in good of the order.
Yeah.
All right.
And I got one more thing. You also, Mr. Mayor, passed on I can't remember if it was letter or an email from Betsy or somebody who had concerns about the waterfront. And I'd like to take that on and maybe as a work study item, but I think we ought to consider a letter signed by the council to the port asking for certain improvements in advance of FIFA. And I've actually, last time I walked my dog, I actually kind of looked around, there's gaps in the fencing. I think those benches have outlived their decades of use. And there's some other things that I think the port could do to make that more welcoming.
I think if we came up, share your list of concerns with me, and I'll have a conversation. I think would be much more friendly than a letter coming from this body that would be taken, could be taken wrong.
Okay, that's fair, but as long as we get a response from the port.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want to get lost is, I'll tell you, I've called the port a couple times because I walk the docks and I've said, it would be really nice, if you guys laid out a map on your glass doorway going into the transient moorage of the future improvements of the moorage, of facilities down there. Because right now, people just think we have a crappy dock that's fallen apart. And basically it is. It's outlived its life. But there's no indication to the public, the walkers, or even some of the people that are using the marina, that there's a new dock coming or a new breakwater coming.
Do you have Gary Anderson's number?
He was the first guy I talked to about it years ago. Then I called,
because that's who I'm gonna call.
yeah, I think, and so then I also talked to somebody at the port, somebody who was actually in charge of their outreach and mapping and stuff. And she said, this is a great idea. Well, that was, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago.
So, write me an email, Scott, and I'll definitely address it with Gary, but it wouldn't hurt for you to pick up the phone and call Gary too.
Okay.
I mean, if he hears it from multiple people, maybe it'll get some traction.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, I got nowhere with the port, and I'm trying not to be negative until I went to a port commissioners meeting. Stop at a port commissioners meeting and bring this topic up. You'll make some headway. Guaranteed.
Okay.
They have public comment too.
Well, I would go, but I don't,
You're right. They have a day meeting and an evening meeting, and it's the same time as ours. Actually, you could hustle out there and hustle back, but it's at the same time. It's Tuesday nights, just like us. So, yeah.
Okay. So I'll get you some information.
The Dennis too. Arnie's. You've gotten anything from Arnie on the? Remember the agreement? Is that gotten?
I haven't heard back since our last meeting.
Could you follow up on that?
I will
too?
follow up.
So, and we can address some of this with Arnie in our conversations, because we're, now that Marina Pump Station's done, we're reanalyzing who's going to do what. So we're not duplicating our efforts with staff down on the waterfront. So maybe we can help push their staff to do some things too.
Yeah, there's some cable replacement at the Stroptimus Outlook that needs to happen. They've got temporary.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a matter of when they get to it.
Yeah.
But things like that as well.
All right. Jay, what you got?
I had, the election was certified today, so I sent out a message to Janine and Brandy. If you would forward it, notes from the campaign trail. Okay. Okay, good. Okay. So just let me know if any questions. It's just what I heard while I was out walking. The other thing is, I know there's been some emails regarding possible change to our council norms that have been going around. It'd be nice if they were discussed with the council as a whole. And so if those emails could be sent to Brandy or Janine for publication, that'd be appreciated. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. Are you having an executive session?
We are, yep, pursuant to RCW 423110 subpart 1, subpart I, for approximately 15 minutes with no action, adjournment to follow.
Okay. A point of order. I would like to hold that in advance that there may be action taken afterwards.
Okay.
By the council.
Okay.
All right.
I will not be requesting any.
All right. So you said 10 minutes?
15.
15?
15, yeah.
15.
Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
I don't know about